All right, my friends, welcome to episode number 202 of Prof and Dev Play Games. My name is Larry, the professor at Prof Plays Games on Twitter. And over there is not Anthony. He is on vacation for 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, we have some special episodes. For this week, I have 3 of my friends coming in to talk about video games. First segment is a friend named Casey. He does social media and strategy for a number of companies, including some high-profile video game companies. So we'll learn a little bit about what he does. Next, got my friend Ted. You might remember him from last November talking about Red Dead Redemption 2. He's coming on to talk about some games he's been playing. Red Dead Redemption 2, again, of course, still. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because, of course, this is the Assassin's Creed Odyssey podcast. And last, have my friend Brad, who you've heard a lot about on this podcast, coming in to talk about games he played this year and things he's excited about and just lots of nerd stuff in general. If you like our podcast, please check us out on Patreon. Just search Prof and Dev Play Games, and $1 gets you a shout out on the show, and $5 allows you to choose a topic for our show. Thank you so much for giving us some reviews on the iTunes store. We will do our drawing for the physical goods in 2 weeks when the dev returns. So until then, please keep rating us on iTunes and whatever other podcast services you use. It really helps with visibility, and we enjoy it a lot. And without further ado, let's get to the first segment. All right, my friends, thanks for coming back to this segment. I got my friend Casey here who does some social media strategy for some video game companies, and I kind of wanted to bring him on the podcast to talk about like what the fuck that's like how does that all work, and then also talk about some games he's been playing. So why don't you introduce yourself to the audience, Casey, and then kind of get into what you do.
Yeah, right on. My name's Casey. I work in the advertising world. I am a strategist, and like Larry said, I do a little social for some popular games, some new games, some old games, some video games. And I've been doing it now. I guess I was doing social for video games started in like the fall of 2017. Mm-hmm. So, and it's been more on than off, and then it was off, and now it's kind of back on. Just kind of, that's the world of advertising, is you're not always working on the same stuff every day.
And is it different to do strategy for video games than some of the other things that you do strategy for social?
Not entirely. I mean, it really is all about reading the room, right? And it's like, what do we want to message? Who are we trying to message it to? And you just kind of go from there. Like, if I were doing social for perhaps like a famous burger restaurant, the things I might do for them could actually be a lot like the things you might do to get attention in the video game economy. Like big flashy stuff, things that people are going to want to talk about, things that people are going to want to share, maybe like a kind of a gag product. Even though like when KFC makes products, they're not actual gags, they're real products, right? Like,
but they seem like gags, like those double
exactly
whatever the hell they are.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, they even released, it was like sunscreen that smelled like fried chicken.
They did? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just saw a thing today where it was like a red gingham print shirt that the lower hem has a pocket that folds out into a tablecloth of that same pattern, and it's called the picnic polo.
Oh my God.
Right? And they'll probably sell like 100 of them.
Right.
But the talk value, right, is that now we're talking about it here on this podcast.
Yep.
Chances are a handful of people saw it online and then shared it on their own channels. And that's the goal, is at this point in the like social game, algorithms and everything have really made it that you either pay a lot of money to make sure that whatever you want gets in front of whoever you want it to, like, is all about your audience. And if you pay enough money, you can be very precise with your audience targeting.
Right.
or you hope that you make a thing that is both fun and easy enough to share that, your Tom, Dick, and Harry's will share it on their own channels, as like a, hey, you got to check this out kind of thing, right?
Reminds me of that. I don't know if you saw it recently, but Ben Schwartz did a thing for Dos Equis, I think. There was like a towel suit.
Yeah.
That just looked ridiculous, kind of in the vein of the KFC stuff you were talking about. But it was a real product, probably didn't sell a lot, but then, like you say, the talk value is people talking about Dos Equis and this fucking weird thing they saw.
Right. And you think about like any of the stunts that you see at E3 or at like Comic-Con, right? The kind of thing that because every single person has a nice camera with them now.
Right.
You can pull it out, you can interact with it, you can make a video, a photograph, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're sharing it. And then that reach, because it's not being hampered by any of the algorithms for ads, like that's a fire hose that's unchecked.
Yeah, and I saw that a lot. Like, for example, when I was at the Marvel Games panel at Comic-Con, a lot of stuff for the Marvel Ultimate event. No, fuck, what's it called? MUA3, whatever it's called.
Sure, Ultimate Alliance.
That's it, fuck. A lot of news came out of there that people were snapping with their phones even though they weren't supposed to, and then it just tore through social media like wildfire. And you just don't have to pay for that, right? You don't have to pay for advertising, basically.
You don't have to pay for it, and you can't beat it, right? Like, what will you feel better about? Will you feel better about something you see me share, or something that got promoted to you, right?
Yeah, no, my friends, absolutely. When I see the things like ad, promoted, whatever, on Instagram, and a little bit on Twitter, it's just like, yeah, I kind of scroll past it for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of video game marketing, social media, kind of in general terms, I don't want you to get specific, of course, but like what was a successful campaign? What was something that really hit that you worked on?
Well, sometimes, like, I guess I was about to say KPI, which is just a term like in the business. It means key performance indicator, right? So if we get really inside baseball here, that just is sort of the one metric that we set beforehand, in order to say this was or wasn't a success, right? Mm-hmm. So if it is a video game trailer, a key performance indicator might be how many views we got, along those lines, right?
Right.
So there was a really big moment last year in a video game that was sort of going to like change the landscape of the game, and we knew that it would be a big talk value piece, and that it also might like be negatively received, because of the way that it was all going to play out. And so we went ahead and kind of did this little inception in which we like made kind of like a counter advertisement that didn't feel like it was an ad at all, and it was a physical exhibition that we created that then a lot of people engaged with and were sharing on their own as a way to sort of like retake and reclaim this big like video game moment.
Right.
And suddenly everyone's sentiment like skewed back into the positive around that news. Boy, I'm trying to be vague.
Yeah. But
I'm talking all around it, but
but you kind of leaned into the negativity or like had a conversation about that, right?
Yeah, we used the negativity to allow us to sort of like rechannel it as a positive, right? And that was super successful, and it did kind of what we were just talking about, was it created something called user-generated content, which is kind of always the goal at this point. And so many people were sharing photos and videos of this exhibit that we had created. It was a huge win for us, right? Because we watched we could watch the conversation online swing back around to like positive sentiment around this big news that had come out.
And then when you do something like that, how does the company itself that's hired you to do that, how do they respond to that? Do they look at it and say, wow, you really took something we were afraid of and really turned it around, and kind of reward you in some way? Or is it kind of like, all right, thanks, we paid you for that, great?
It's more the latter, and also a lot of like, well, that's clearly a fluke. Like, I didn't learn about this in B school, so that's a fluke. And then kind of the next day, everything just kind of goes back to business as usual of the like, right, but we just proved to you that what we want to do will work. And then, so.
You guys keep trying to pitch the same strategy that worked previously because it's different?
I mean, we like to try and pitch a strategy that like we can point to and say this has worked.
Right.
Not to say that we are stuck in it, but more like we know this works. Let's try it on a larger scale. Or it's the kind of thing of like, look, you took a chance with us on this thing that was very small stakes. Let's try and take a chance on something a little bit bigger for slightly larger stakes. And I think the big trick I have, if I take off my marketing hat, is that like all those KPIs, all those key performance indicators, that's all they are. They're just numbers. Like, they don't equal sales, right?
Right.
Like, you could watch my video game trailer, you could engage with my Instagram story, but you aren't necessarily buying my video game. And so there's a pretty big disconnect between like marketing and product. And if a video game just straight up sucks,
although marketing doesn't matter, right?
No amount of clever wink tweets are going to do anything about that. Right. Yeah.
Have you found yourself, I think we're getting in territory you might not want to answer, but have you found yourself on a campaign for a game that you know sucks and you're trying to like spin gold out of it and just can't get any traction?
No, because I mean, you can always listen to the community, right? And you can say, well, what is the community on this Reddit thread talking about? What are they talking about on their boards? What are they talking about on Twitter? And you can see what they're talking about. And then you can also see like how they're talking, right? Like, are they talking in GIFs? Are they talking in memes? Are they using sort of like, is it the same joke over and over again that they're just like riffing on? And so that way you kind of can build up, I don't know, it's like you can build up a Trojan horse, right? That will look and feel and sound like they do. And if you know what they want to hear and see about their video game that they love and cherish so much, even a lemon of a video game has fans. And you just sort of find a way to message to those fans, right? In a way that makes them feel like you care about them.
What's the process for kind of surfacing those conversations that people are having on Reddit, for example, or on Twitter, and using that language?
Yeah.
I don't want to say co-opting, but like in a way that feels authentic and doesn't feel like you're just, for example, like there are articles that come out on some clickbaity websites for video games that literally just lifts content from Reddit threads and makes it into a news story. How do you avoid doing that?
Well, I think something that works in the favor of like my team is we play the hell out of video games. And like we play the games that we're working on. We play the competition to those games. We play other games. We talk about games all the time. We're sharing. So like, I don't feel like any of us are imposters in the specific video game community or like the larger community of like video game players.
Right.
And so it never really feels like we're wolves in sheep's clothing in that sense. And so we as an agency always try and like reapply the lens of, will the fans give a fuck about this?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I think we just always try and do it with a little bit of care.
Right. And I think that makes sense because I feel like the bullshit censor from the video game community. Maybe it's the same as other communities, but I feel like it's really tuned.
Yeah.
So the ability to kind of avoid that is interesting. Kind of pivoting from your role and what you do to kind of what you're playing. You talked about your company being a bunch of gamers and kind of playing the things you're doing. What are you playing lately?
Let's see. I've been playing a bunch of Hollow Knight again.
Oh, nice.
I'm playing it on my Switch this time.
Yeah.
So
that's the place to play it.
It's so fun on my Switch. I've been playing Cadence of Hyrule.
Oh yeah.
Which is a bunch of fun too, but I'm really bad at it because apparently syncopation is like not for me.
Did you know that you can play like the no beat mode or whatever it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's almost cheating, even though I know that it's like just part of the game.
Right.
And
I agree with you. Yeah.
I haven't yet gotten frustrated enough at it to like switch over to no beat. How
far in that game are you?
Not very.
Oh, okay.
Not very far.
It took me like probably half an hour to kind of get over the frustration of it and really get into it, and then I sailed from there. So you definitely give it the time, because I thought about that too, and I was like, I don't want to turn on that mode because it feels like that's not what the point of this is. And yeah, fuck that. I love that game. That was great.
Let's see what else. Playing a little bit of Destiny 2. It's gotten a lot better. It really bottomed out, but then, I think that expansion that hit last fall started a course correct, and right now they're in this thing called the Season of Opulence. And honestly, that game and that universe are just like such fan service, and the people who are the fans are getting exactly what they want right now. I think it's great.
Yeah, it's interesting how they turned it around in terms of like, fuck it, this is our audience. Like, we're taking our game back from Activision. Like, this is what they want. We're gonna do it. I fell off. I played the campaign, the original campaign, and at the end I was like, that was good, it was fun, and then I didn't play again.
Yeah. I think your experience was a lot of people's experience on it. Yeah. But I do think, Bungie got it back, and Bungie's like, you know what? This is our vision, and here we go. It'll be fun to see what they do with their fall expansion about the moon.
Oh yeah, right.
Let's see what else. A lot of Super Smash Brothers. So we should get a game in one of these days.
Yes,
it's been a while.
It was like months ago that we played.
Yes, it has been a while. So I play a bunch of that, and every now and then I jump back into Octopath Traveler.
Oh yeah,
which was a beautiful game, and I enjoyed it. I haven't beat it. I have never finished it. I don't know why I'm talking about it in the past tense, but
because you're still going through it.
Yeah, but I think I hit a point where I was like, oh, none of these stories converge.
And that's my issue with starting it, is I feel like because it doesn't, like, I can't accept that the story is good, but then I guess I'll ask you, like, are the individual stories worth the journey?
No, I find myself like speeding through most of them. And like the battle mechanic is fun, but it's turn-based RPG. So like, I'm glad I got it. Do I wish that it had a better narrative through line? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what keeps kind of turning me off of trying.
And it makes me think that they perhaps spent more of their time and energy on the gorgeous graphics,
right, and
a little bit less on the like story itself.
Right. Well, the demos that I played, like, I love that battle system. Like, it really feels great. But then I really need the narrative hook to kind of see me through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I started playing Divinity Original Sin 2 again.
Okay.
And that story just fucking grabs me. Like, I don't know if you played that game, but you can just basically do whatever, wherever, and just build your own story as you go. And it's a lot of fun.
I have not played that.
It recreates the D&D kind of campaign experience in a lot of fun ways. So.
Yeah.
That's what I've been playing for the most part. Real quick about Hollow Knight. Where are you in Hollow Knight?
Oh, I don't even know. Right now I'm let's see, not very far.
Yeah.
I'm down in like the fungal wastes.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe I'm like, you can't see me, but in my room right now I am like I'm putting the map together with my hands. Like I've toggled the map up, and I think
so you're right there.
Yeah, I think my last save was probably somewhere down in the fungal wastes.
Oh, okay. Man, that was like a top 5 game for me of all time. It's
so fun.
So good. So well done. And that the new one's coming out eventually, the Hornet expansion. So I can't wait to dig into that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for spending some time with us, Casey, to tell us about your job and the things you're playing. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it.
All right. We will get back to our next segment. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
All right. Cheers.
All right, my friends, welcome back to this section of the podcast. This is the What We're Playing podcast with my friend Ted. You might remember him from the episode Red Dead Ted. He is a fan of Red Dead, so we had him on talking about the cowboy game, which I guess maybe you're still playing, right?
I'm still playing it.
Yeah?
Although it's been a little sabbatical from it. Just recently picked it back up. So had put it on hold to play some Assassin's Creed per your recommendation.
Nice.
And pretty wrapped up in that. Now I'm taking a sabbatical from that to transfer back into the Western world.
So this is going to be spoiler filled, so if you haven't played these games, we're going to say some things. But what part of the game are you at with Red Dead?
It's a part where the UFO invasion comes down and there's aliens and...
I would believe you. in a Rockstar game, that sounds kind of plausible.
That's more of a Saints Row thing than a Grand Theft Auto thing, but I am towards the epilogue, the ending of it, playing as a different character, John Marston, for the spoiler alert there. But I think most people already know that, how it plays out. But
right, because he's got to survive, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you know anything about the history of the games, you know that John Marston's the guy. So. Yeah, so, I knew it was happening. I knew it was going to come, and actually it was just 2 days ago I got, to the part where your main character, Arthur Morgan, perishes, and it was still a moment, and then an even better moment to play as John Marston. So.
And it's the same voice actor, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Amazing voice actor. Don't know his name. Can't think of it right in a second, but...
Yeah, I heard that this is... I thought I read that this is like the one role that he's had, but that might be wrong.
Yeah, he was made for it, so...
Yeah. No, that voice just kind of sings in my head. I'm at the part in Red Dead where I met him for the first time, where I had to go out into the mountains and find him kind of buried in the snow.
Yeah. That was a great moment, because then you kind of learn what, the scars came from, and...
Right.
Kind of adds to the mythos of, who John Marston is, so...
Yeah, it's nice having played. I think I probably played like 10 hours or so of Red Dead. To have played enough to kind of get those things felt enriched the experience, I'd say.
You never completed the first one, right?
No. I got about 10 hours probably twice.
Yeah.
And then just I don't know what about that game that didn't hook me. I think with most open world games, I get stuck in the open world part and kind of don't progress the main story. And kind of
10 hours
out.
is a long time to live in that world anyways. 10 hours is a good amount.
Right. But I am interested to go back to that game to see how it ends, because I hear that the ending, like when you get to Mexico, apparently like that moment in the game is really good.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get back to it.
I don't know if this is confirmed or not, but I thought I heard a little rumor that they might actually be going back to remake it, to update the Red Dead Redemption, the first one. So
really.
I don't know if that's true or not. I heard a little whisper somewhere, and I've neglected to delve into it, mostly because you try to Google anything or you try to find any information, it's usually misdirects or misinformation. So
right.
I heard a whisper somewhere. I don't remember where. I don't remember if I read it or saw a snippet of an article, but it was it gave me hope. I hope that's true. I would love to go back and revisit that game with an updated. Whether it be a kick to the graphics card or just, I don't know, I'd play it.
It would have been really fun if, Red Dead Redemption 2 ends and you roll into the epilogue with John Marston, and then if that just continued and it was just Red Dead Redemption.
That's what a lot of people had, hoped and, thought that was going to happen. I don't think I ever thought that was going to happen, but I thought that would be great if that happened.
Yeah, or even some sort of DLC.
Yeah, 2 games in one.
Yeah, I think I've an hour and a half maybe, however long it took to get to that part, and it was definitely slow, but I actually really found myself enjoying the slowness of it. The story, the writing was just, the wrapper of that around the action was just so good. It was compelling for me.
Yeah.
But I haven't gotten...
As far as slowness, I don't think you really want to rush through it. Like, I find myself, even now going back to it, like, I find myself having to stop and kind of like just enjoy what's happening instead of trying to rush to the next thing. Just enjoying every moment that passes, even just riding your horse, just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, did you find that was more difficult to do as your character contracted his disease and was heading toward death?
Oh yeah. I actually would probably say I beat around the bush and tried picking up other side, like just doing the random encounters and picking up all the collectibles and stuff like that, just to prolong having to, have him die. But
you wanted to make him suffer longer?
Yeah, kind of. There's nothing like riding around and your guy starts coughing and the dizzy swirls start happening.
Oh, it sounds so magical. So in the middle of this, you did pick up Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Yes.
And as our listeners know, this has basically since October been the Assassin's Creed Odyssey podcast. So why don't we talk more about that game? What did you think?
I think it's amazing. I was definitely skeptical going in. I know you talked about it endlessly.
Yeah.
Both you and Anthony endlessly talking about it. But I was skeptical, but I thought, let's give it a shot. And I would have to say immediately, just the area, the surroundings, the graphics, the ambiance of the environment is captivating. And then being drawn into Cassandra's story, pile of cards fell right after it. The combat, the leveling up, the side missions, the side quests, great.
How far did you get in the main storyline? Like, where are you at?
I have reunited my family, and what was the last thing I did? I guess that was it. We reunited. We're living back at our old house, and
so
we had a little dysfunctional family dinner, and
right.
Yeah.
Who did you save? Who was there at the dinner?
Everyone's there.
Nice. Even Stentor, or whatever his name was.
Stentor, Alexios. I can't think of your Potter's name. Your not your real dad, but the wolf.
Yeah,
is it the wolf?
I think yeah.
Yeah. Obviously not Pythagoras, but
yeah. Right. So did you do the mythical beasts? Have you beaten the Medusa and such?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then you beaten all the cultists too, then, right?
Yep, beat all the cultists.
Oh, so
you said with the DLC another branch opens up though, but I haven't done any of that. So
you've beaten the game then. Those are the 3 storylines.
Yeah, pretty much. Like we were talking earlier, I'm trying to wrap up the all of the achievements and maybe even go for the epic cycle. So it'd be the first time I ever did that in a game for 100% completion.
You don't have a platinum yet?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought you don't like Telltale games. Okay, never mind. Because I figured you would have gotten one of those.
The Walking Dead. Yeah, no. Those are easy ones, huh?
I mean, you just finished the game. You get to the last chapter and then you get the platinum.
Yep, never done that.
Even The Walking Dead. Wow, okay.
Even The Walking Dead.
Yeah, it's surprising. I guess you really don't like the Telltale formula then.
I don't know what it is about it. I don't mind a steer a movie, and I don't mind a choose your own adventure comic book or what have you, but for some reason it just, I don't know. Like I have given the demo for Walking Dead probably 2 go-throughs, and I try to enjoy it, and I'm me, I'm a big fan of The Walking Dead, but still doesn't get me.
Well then, this would be a proper first platinum anyways, and a really worthy one, I think. And you've done most of the hard work for it. Like uncovering the map's not that big of a deal, and the underground stuff's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think one of the things I don't know why I still haven't unlocked was it still said I need to cleave a ship with an all-female crew, which I'm pretty sure I had done that, but I will have to go and fire a few of the men and try that again. So
Yeah, just make sure it's the 4 crew people plus the skin for the rowers.
right, yeah.
Yeah, so
Which I believe, what is that? The Cult of Artemis or something?
that's probably one of them. There are several that are all women. So yeah, I got that one pretty early. So that's awesome.
It's been fun.
And
I'm still on the fence about getting any DLC because I still have, after having taken that one on, I definitely went and purchased the Origins, and I want to get onto that.
Right.
So I don't know if I want to do DLC and do more time on that, or go back and play Origins.
I should get back to Origins. I'm like 3/4 of the way through that story, and I love Odyssey so much, but for some fucking reason I didn't finish Origins. And they're they're not the same, but they're fucking really similar. So, just in a different place. So.
You said you enjoyed it though when you played it, right? I mean,
I did. I really liked it. It was the same thing. I got stuck doing a ton of side quests, and then actually there was a point where I hadn't done enough side quests, oddly enough, so I was underleveled for the main storyline, so I had to go out and do other stuff, and then I put it down for whatever reason, and then didn't get back to it. So I should get back to it. It looks just as gorgeous as Odyssey. It's just exploring Egypt instead, of course. So yeah, it's a good game.
I also have to play some other. I saw Spider-Man and Horizon Zero Dawn, and several other games I would love to delve into, but between Odyssey and Red Dead, that has been the last better part of a year for me.
Yeah, I'd say that's been since last November, whenever Red Dead came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the only two, aside from, playing Trials and Overcooked and games with the kids, that's about all I have played.
Oh man, Overcooked, that'll destroy a marriage.
Yeah.
Or a friendship.
We did. Well, friendship for sure, but...
Yeah, I'd say that when Brad and I played that 3-player, you were fucking furious at us.
I didn't know what was happening.
I know, we're just like...
Now that I know the mechanics of it, I think I could hold my own.
Yeah, okay, we'll have to have a rematch. Oh, man. What have I been playing? Just at Comic-Con, I played Mario Maker 2, which is just a ton of... The story mode is basically a lot of really clever puzzle things that Nintendo's put together, but I've talked about that quite a bit on the podcast. But the new thing that just came out was Fire Emblem for Switch, which is basically like a strategy RPG. You have your units versus the opponent's army, and you're kind of using strategic maneuvers to beat them, basically.
So it's Strategio.
It's what?
It's Strategio.
Yes, sure. That'll work. So if you imagine that's the core of the game, and that's what most of the previous games were about. I've played probably an hour and 20 minutes so far of this game, and I've had a 3-minute battle, and that's it. And the rest has been like getting to know my team and talking to different people and choosing which house I want to be, because the game revolves around the idea that you're a professor teaching one house, like mixed Game of Thrones plus Harry Potter, and that's where it's at. So it's been a lot of talking and not much combat, which has been a departure from past Fire Emblems that I've played. So far it's interesting though. But there's a lot of talking.
Great.
Yeah, you would fucking hate it. Like on so many levels, you would hate this game. But it's basically just talking right now. Tons of talking, tons of reading. I think they've eschewed the strategy part of the SRPG and just kept the RPG part, and so just doing the role playing right now, which is weird because I'm role playing as a professor, which is my job, so it just feels a little weird. Usually,
you should be really good at the game then.
I hope so, but halfway through the game, you end up starting to kill the other students, so that's not something that I do in real life.
Yeah.
But in games, I usually, if I have the choice of a male or a female, I will almost always choose a female protagonist, like Cassandra or whatever, or Femshep in Mass Effect. But because it's a professor, I have to play as a male protagonist because I'm... Other thing I've been playing is Divinity Original Sin 2. I don't know if you've heard of that game or played that game.
What was it again?
Divinity Original Sin 2.
Never heard of it.
It's basically like a D&D kind of game where you have a party and there's just so many side quests and things that you can do in the game, and then it's turn-based combat, and then you're just you can interact with the environment kind of in any way that you can puzzle out. Like, for example, if you hurt an enemy where they start to bleed, you can then use like an electrical weapon, and that will electrocute them because the blood, if they're in the blood, they'll electrocute basically. So there's lots of different things you can do. Kind of the hallmark of D&D tabletop game is that you can kind of whatever you think you can do, you can try to do at least, and that's what's going on in this game. So it's been a lot of fun as well. But I probably put maybe 3 hours into that this week. Usually my gaming time is 9:30, 9 o'clock until 10:30, and I'm just so tired at that point in the night that I'm just barely keeping my eyes open.
I know how that is.
Yeah, parenthood, man, is tiring. So tiring.
Yep. That's an understatement right there.
Yeah. Well, before I let you go, I wanted to get your thoughts on Comic-Con. How was your Comic-Con experience this year?
It was great. It was overwhelming by the crowds sometimes, but otherwise a lot of inspirational artwork to see. A lot of stuff to put on the burners to look at later. I didn't have an opportunity to really even get to the artist alley side, mostly just because every time I went over there it was crazy busy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of good times. Sitting with you at Hall H, that was, I got to see stuff that I forgot that I even liked. Batman Beyond, what was it, they said 20 years?
20th anniversary, yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of blew my mind right there. I was like, has it been 20 years? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that, and and then I took, as you know, I took my daughter on Sunday, so that was a unique experience that we both got to share, and I felt like she was definitely overwhelmed by the crowds as well, but she still enjoyed it, and it was just a fun day for both of us, and yeah.
It's interesting that Sunday was that crowded, because I feel like historically that was the least crowded day.
Right. That's why I thought it was a great day to, it'd be low key and stuff. I believe last time that I went on a Sunday, I think I only went for a short period that day. I think we met actually there, and I just went for a little bit, and I remember in my memory it seemed like a ghost town. It seemed like you could walk freely to wherever you wanted, and it was, there was no huge crowds, but this was not the case this year.
That's my memory too.
Yeah.
But I think what's changed with the ticket buying process, and I'm sure someone can correct me later, before it was you buy the whole 4-day pass plus preview, and then now it's basically you just buy them all separately, so you can buy tickets for each day. So if you intentionally bought a Sunday ticket, you probably are going to go to Sunday. Whereas
I think that was true 7 years ago.
You think it was? Okay.
I feel like it was, yeah. Because no, I mean I don't know 100%, but I feel like that was true of that time.
Yeah, I think that's
by single days.
Well, no, you could buy single days for sure. It was just that people who are buying the 4-day pass plus preview bought it as a package, so they might go to buy the package because they want preview night, because that's the only way you can get preview night, but then might not be interested in going Sunday. Versus now, you can buy preview separately, I believe. So then, if you do buy Sunday, anyone who buys Sunday is intentionally wanting to go to Sunday. Whereas Brad bought them for me this time. So I was still operating under the old rules. So I'm like, yeah, get me all 4 days, when I had no intention of going on Sunday. And then I didn't. So I just kind of wasted that ticket, I guess. But I didn't even know that was. I didn't know that. So yeah, that is probably definitely a big attribute to why it was so packed. Yeah, I think that's true. I'm sure that Brad will tell me if I'm wrong, because he will listen to this and tell me how I fucked that up. But I'm pretty sure that's the change that's happened recently. So yeah, I don't go often enough to know all the details every year. I believe that was the last time I went was 7 years ago. So we haven't gone since 2012. Yeah. So 7. Yeah. Yeah, that's a long time. It's definitely possible that's changed. And maybe it's even possible that just because it's been 7 years that the crowds have become more enormous. But they have. They've gotten bigger every year. So, yeah. But otherwise, I mean, it was a good time. I mean, I'm not craving human contact for a while, so that's good. I've got that out of the way. Fuck people, yeah. Between the elbows and my feet being stepped on, I'm good. Yeah. So... yeah. So I can't imagine dragging a kid through that. Oh man. Yeah. It was an experience for her. She built up a ton of immunities, so that's good. Yeah. She didn't walk away from the con being really sick. No, I actually got a little bit of a cold afterwards, but it might have just been the weather, being inside the air conditioning and then all the people and then going out and just the
the busy days. But
Right.
yeah,
Oh man, I still have your poster, by the way, the It poster. I should have brought that today.
I'll see it on eBay.
I will get it to you. That's funny. Well, thanks for spending some time with us for this episode and sharing what you've been playing. We appreciate it.
No problem. It's been fun.
Anything that you want to pimp before you get out of here?
Nope, don't have anything to pimp.
All right. Well, nice talking to you, Ted, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Talk to you later.
And this is the third section where we've got Brad coming in to talk about the games that he has really enjoyed playing and what he's looking forward to for the rest of the year. Unfortunately, I cut off the front of this intro for this section, so I'm going to introduce him now. This next section is me talking to my friend Brad. Enjoy. What did you think of the Doom Eternal stuff that you saw?
Oh, as soon as they announced Doom Eternal at E3, I was like, yep.
Well, you got the collector's edition of that one pre-ordered, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You were a big enthusiast for Doom 20.
Yeah, but I don't think they have a digital.
They don't have a digital collector's edition?
Oh yeah, they do.
But yours, doesn't it come with a statue or something?
Oh yeah, the head.
Yeah.
Comes with the helmet.
Right. Is that a fall release? That's coming out this fall?
November maybe.
So what are you playing right now then?
Marvel.
Oh, on the Switch?
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
How's that working out for you?
Pretty good. Yeah, that one's pretty nice. It's good. Get back to that old hack and slash feel. Kind of like the old Turtles arcade beat 'em ups.
Right. But is there depth to it in terms of customization and such?
Yeah, but I would say find a few good heroes that you like in the beginning.
Right.
Because as you go through the story level requirements go up. So then you're like, oh, I got a new character and I want to switch them out, but then they start at a good level, but the synergies of their attacks meld together really makes a big difference.
Right. So who's your main team then right now?
Right now I think Cap, Wolverine, maybe Scarlet Witch, and I can't remember the other one because you get character unlocks like someone sprinkling sprinkles on your ice cream. It just keeps coming.
Yeah. There's a total of 30 something characters in the game?
Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fun. I mean, I played, or at least no, I saw a gameplay of 2, and it looked hacky slashy. And the lore, I guess, right? There's a lot of Marvel lore in the game.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't know who the Eternals are, you're going to want to look them up. Or so there's certain characters where it'll give a quick, literally 5-word synopsis of what they do. So if you're not familiar with exactly who they are and what they do and their relevance in the lore, you're going to want to look it up.
Right.
It kind of assumes you know most of that.
We kind of a nice primer for some of the Marvel movies that were announced at Comic-Con. I think the Eternals was one of them with Richard Madden and such.
Yeah. Yeah, the Eternals is one of them. But I'm thinking of, in the game, the Inhumans come up. So it's one of those where I remember hearing about it, but I have to go look them up to really bring myself back up to speed. Because there's one character, I think it's called Black Adam. Adam is an ATOM.
Right.
Where his power is, if he speaks, it unconsciously triggers all this stuff to happen to where he just destroys whatever he's near. Like supersonic destruction of cities from whispering. So the whole time you keep going up to him trying to talk and he just doesn't say anything.
That's pretty cool.
And they play it off like this big joke, but if he even said hi, the whole place would blow up and you'd all die.
Right. So for people who know the lore behind it, it's like a pretty funny joke.
Yeah, you just want to take that 5 minutes to give them a quick wiki search and then go, oh, okay,
right.
And then move on.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the Marvel Games panel, Comic-Con, the writer was there and just talking about how much he loves the Marvel world and wanted to put all these references in for people who didn't know it, could have fun with the game, but people who did really got a lot out of it. So that's good to see, or good to hear. I mean, how far do you think you are in it?
I think I'm in chapter 3 or 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
So our characters have gathered 4 or 5 Infinity Stones.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know if they're going to do one of those swerves of, okay, you've gathered them, but now you just got stomped before you could use them, and
Right.
now you're going to have to start over again, or if it's going to be a short story where the whole goal is to kind of, okay, now you can take new characters and play through again, which is kind of what I'm thinking they're going to do.
That'd be some mechanic to bring in the new characters and force you to play them, I guess.
Well, not really force you to play them, but like, just do New Game Plus. So now it's,
Oh, I see.
now you start over and just, okay, you're at the beginning where the levels aren't as hard.
Right.
So you can bring them in, but they do drop like experience cubes and things like that. So if one of the players you bring in and you switch them out meshes really well, you could pretty much just say, all right, use all these experience cubes and watch them jump 10, 20 levels if you use it right.
Oh, yeah. It's like that Spark of Light in Destiny where you jump in and use it and level up to whatever the base level was for the expansion or whatever. That makes sense.
Yeah. But it's one of those games where I could see people going nuts. If I got to get everyone to max level, I don't know if I got time to play games, but I don't know if I have that much time.
I listened to Greg Miller on the Kind of Funny Gamecast, the weekly one they do, talking about that exact same thing. It's just like he loves it. It's just grinding. Like, you really have to grind to get all your characters up, and that just seems like a long haul.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
I think you're probably playing the right way. Choose 4 that you like and kind of just fucking stick with them and go. So
yeah.
You didn't pick up Fire Emblem, right? You're not. I think you were interested, but you're not a Fire Emblem guy as far as I know.
I'll probably pick it up eventually.
Yeah.
I picked up Warriors because it was one of those, like, it's your birthday, here's money off of stuff, and you have a limited kind of choice of games to choose from.
Right. Yeah, I grabbed that from Amazon. It was like $20. I had rented it before, and I really liked it, but definitely different, but more action-oriented for sure. You've seen Fire Emblem, though, where it's just like the strategy RPG, whatever. I think I played an hour and 20 minutes so far of the new one, and I've had a 1 3-minute battle, and the rest of it has been talking and meeting people and talking and more cutscenes. It's so, the RPG thing is huge in this, and the battle stuff is few and far between so far. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, I remember I played Advance Wars for a while. And
okay.
But everyone says it's similar to that.
Right.
So it'd be kind of nice to have a game like that, but with characters you're getting invested in. Advance Wars was generic tank number 2.
Yep. And
as long as everything survive, or as long as you survive the round, you don't really care.
Right, and that's what Wargroove is. They're kind of going back to that. But yeah, Fire Emblem for sure is like you actually care about the characters and don't want them to die. I'm playing on classic mode, so if they die, they're dead. But they added a new mechanic, which I haven't got to yet, where you can rewind time. So it kind of like save scumming built into the game. So I don't. We'll see when I get to the battles. So far, I haven't got there.
Yeah.
So in terms of, what is it, July? End of July. What have you played this year that's really stood out to you?
This year, I gotta try and remember what came out this year, because I don't always get to stuff right away.
Right. Well, you can just talk about things you played if you can't remember which ones came out this year, because
No, I still remember, I remember my last playthrough of Samus Returns, but I can't remember if that was early this year or last year.
Yeah.
Or, I just know I did it.
That was your 3rd playthrough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I beat Fusion mode 100%.
Right.
And that was, incidentally, my best time by like an hour and a half, which is pretty nuts.
So you're like slowly arcing toward becoming a speedrunner in this game.
Oh no, I still had to get 100% and slowly, really eke it out. But
yeah.
No, let's see. I still need to go back and clean up the last Atlantis chapter in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I plowed through that when it first came out, and then waited until most of the DLC was out, and then went through all of that. I just have to clean up the last chapter. Let's see, I played some XCOM 2 this year, because I always go back and play a few rounds.
You went through the whole campaign on PS4 this year, right?
Almost.
Yeah.
I got like 3/4 of the way, and the experience is so bad on PS4 that it's not worth your time.
Like in terms of crashing or performance? Yep. Oh, shit.
Crashing, performance, bugs, load times. What I'm used to on PC, even when I wasn't on an SSD, it was half the time that it was on a PS4. And now I'm on SSD and everything just goes quick, super quick. Plus, you have all the mods. You can do whatever you want. The quality of life improvements.
Right.
The bugs really aren't there. It's pretty much what they developed it on, so it's the still supported version.
Right.
All the console ones are a half-assed port from a company that really didn't seem to they just wanted to get something out the door to get money.
Right. Well, you had it simply because of PS Plus, right? You didn't buy it, I think.
If I did, it was like $5-10.
Yeah.
Just to try it out.
Right. Like, say, giving it away.
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes you just don't feel like getting up off the couch.
Right.
So I tried it out and then went, nope, this one's worth getting up off the couch.
Yeah. What was it? Darksiders 3, was that this year or last year?
I think early this year.
Oh, yeah. Because you played that to complete.
That was late last year, November 27th.
Shit. All right, man, these years are just melding together for me.
Yeah. Well, I tend to remember with how much we moved recently.
Right.
I was at this place when I played it, and then I have to do the backwards math on it. But now I was here. Okay, well, that doesn't help me much.
Right, yeah, you've been there for a while now.
Yeah, that one was good. Darksiders 3 I was excited about. I actually I purchased the collector's edition of that, pre-ordered. What's the new Darksiders one with Strife that's coming out?
Oh,
Genesis, is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I purchased that because I didn't feel like paying an extra $250 for a board game.
Yeah. That's the one, it's the Joe Madero studio that's doing that, right? The ones who did, the game I'm playing on Switch, and I forgot the name of it, based on a comic book. Battle Chasers. Like, studio that did Battle Chasers, the one doing Genesis.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense if it's that isometric view.
Right. Well, Battle Chase, yeah. The overworld was like that for sure. And then it was like turn-based combat for the battles. But Joe Madero, he was the guy who did the original character designs for Darksiders, wasn't he? Or the comic or something? He's somehow related at the beginning of Darksiders.
That one I'd have to look. I know All Four Horsemen is something I would definitely want Sideshow Collectibles to make figurines of, or Hot Toys, one of those really nice studios.
Right. Seems like a good candidate for that.
Yeah. So when I saw there was a statue of Strife that looked pretty good, like I am on top of that. Yeah, that one was pretty good. Although I did start playing Octopath Traveler. I got most of the characters through their second chapter. And
how are the individual stories? How are you finding them?
Compared to like a big RPG, like let's say Final Fantasy VII, or any Final Fantasy where it's pretty in depth because it's one story.
Right.
These feel like if you just focused on that story. I don't know if you saw the speed run at SGDQ.
No, I didn't.
Where it was an hour and 20 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Because he could just fly through, and he was the thief, so he would literally just try and steal a weapon at a 3% chance. And if he failed too many times, he'd go pay to get his reputation back. But then if you get that weapon, it basically makes you overpowered at that point in the game, which is exactly what he did.
Oh, dang.
But the donation incentive was for which traveler he played as. So he had something for all 8 ready to go. The stories are they're small, concise. If you put them just all back to back and say like someone recorded it and you played a video back, I wouldn't think any one of them would be more than an hour to 2 hours long.
Right. So just like a kind of a collection of short stories in some way.
Yeah. I would say a really good way to play it is pick 4 characters, look up the travelers, pick 4 characters that you think mesh well together.
Right.
And then unlock those 4 characters because you have a 4-person party limit. And then just go through the rest of the game. Ignore the other 4. And then you can do another playthrough with the other 4 characters. Or at least you would have 4 characters that were high level to kind of pull their weight of under-leveled ones if you try to level them up.
Right.
But that could be a good one if you just, okay, here's these 4 stories, we're going to go. I'm not worried about switching out party characters or anything like that. Because you can eventually find shrines that unlock all 8 base party or the jobs, the classes.
Mm-hmm.
So you can set a secondary class to each of the characters.
So then you have all 8 at once with those 4 then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
You just won't get the overworld style abilities. Like the thief can unlock chests, but it has to be his primary job.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it has,
I guess
it
that
has
makes
to be the thief character that does that.
Right. And are you pretty close to the end of that game? You just finished the second chapter for each of them. How many are there for each person?
There's 4.
Oh, okay. So you're kind of halfway through.
Yeah, so I think I'm around mid-30s in level, and I know it like maybe 25 to 30 in level. And I know by like chapter 4 you kind of want to be at like 40 to 50 if I read right.
Mm-hmm. And is there a way to go back and level up, or there's side quests or just random shit to get your levels up?
Yeah, you just go to areas where there's stronger enemies and grind it up.
Oh, yeah.
The dancer classes actually have the dance Bewildering Grace that has a chance to give a 2 times XP multiplier, 5 times XP multiplier, and if you boost it 3 times, 100 times XP multiplier.
Oh, shit.
That's really rare.
Yeah.
And the number of times I've died to a boss because I just keep spamming it, trying to get to 100 times, and it summons a monster that literally heals the boss back to full.
Oh, Jesus.
You're like, oh. And then he stomps your face because you're out of SP and battle points and everything else. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it makes you, each time you boost that dance, it makes you cast it another time. And one of the things brings you near death to worth like 20 health each. And there's another one where there's just an explosion at the ground that could take out 100 damage. So if those 2 happen in succession, it's instant party wipe, game over.
During the demo, I found that the battle system was really fun. Does it continue to be fun as you play, or is it after you do it so many times it kind of loses its luster a little bit?
Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get too bored with it. It's just one of those things where there's some fights where, and I know in other RPGs, where if you go back to older areas, you can just face roll the whole thing. And that system kind of slows the whole thing down. You still kind of have to worry about, can I break the characters to really get the damage in? Because you have to be super overpowered for the enemies you're facing in order to not have the break mechanic matter.
I gotta get back to that. But I also have so many things to play. We'll see how I get back to that.
Well, as soon as I heard the Fire Emblem one is coming out, I'm going, I hope you don't start anything else, because that's not going to get finished.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when a couple days before I picked up Fire Emblem, I went back to Divinity Original Sin 2 and got hooked back into that, so between those two, I'm not sure which one. Probably be Fire Emblem, because I can play it on the go. But I need to get into battles. I do like the talking to people and building your team and shit, but fuck, I want to get into a battle. I love the Fire Emblem battles.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It'll get there. It'll come out. It'll be playable. Then you can get it in whenever you get a chance.
Yep. That's the nice thing with the Switch, is just put it in my bag when I go to work or wherever else, and spare 15 minutes or so I can pop in and do something. But I think one playthrough is like 70 hours for Fire Emblem for one house, and there's 3 houses, so that's a lot of time. Although I have put 110 hours into Assassin's Creed Odyssey, so apparently I have the time, or I have the inclination to stick with the game that long. Fire Emblem's going to be one of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's just a matter of how many real-world hours are going to pass before that number gets up there.
Correct. And with Odyssey, it was a while. Anthony, I don't know if you heard last time on the last podcast or not, but he preloaded it, brought it with him on his camping trip, which he has no Wi-Fi, but he popped into somewhere in Yosemite and got Wi-Fi through he used his phone as a hotspot to download the update file so that he could start playing Fire Emblem on his Switch in his camping trip, where he has no other connections to the outside world. So good for him. He's currently playing that game. Looking forward to hearing what
Nice.
he'll probably have fucking beat it by the time he comes back, because it's like a 2.5 hour or 2.5 week vacation. So we'll see.
Nothing says camping like video games.
I know. I would consider it glamping at that point. He's got to charge that thing at some point. So
Was he actually in tents or kind of a campsite with a cabin or what?
He started off in Montana in a teepee, like kind of cabin thing, but I think they're tent camping in Yosemite, and he told me that he was going to be in a place where he wasn't going to have service. So, like, we're not texting. We usually text all the time. We're not texting right now after a place with service. He's in a tent somewhere.
You should just keep texting him, so when he gets service, he gets 500 messages all at once.
I might just do that. That sounds like something I should do to him.
He's just gonna and just wait like 2 minutes every little time, and he's like, "What the hell?" Getting
ding,
all these.
Ding, ding, ding. Let me just text him right now. Brad wants me to keep texting you.
Yeah, and then randomly just text him something really, really weird, so you can see if he notices because he'll bring up the rubber chicken.
He's gonna love me. He'll blame me. It'll be perfect. All right, man. Anything else you've been playing? Anything else you want to talk about?
I'm just excited about a lot of stuff coming out. And we got so much good stuff with Cyberpunk. Doom Eternal is going to be awesome. It was kind of interesting being at Comic-Con where the game was out while they had big booths of people waiting in line to play it.
Right. It's like you're talking about like Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you guys can just download that right now. Maybe people were like trying it out as a demo to see if they like it or not, but I feel like if you played the other two, you kind of know what you're going to get.
Yeah. It just seems weird. There's so much stuff to do at Comic-Con.
Yep.
So to wait in line that long for something that you could just do at home.
Right.
But I guess as part of the experience is playing with 4 people or 3 other people.
Yeah, and maybe they don't have Switches or who knows what. But Nintendo, I mean, I think everything, maybe you felt the same way. Everything seemed to have bigger lines. Everything seemed more impacted with crowds. Did it seem like bigger or more crowded to you?
It's about normal for Comic-Con.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't see it all, and everyone that wants to see something assumes I can't get there 30 minutes ahead. I got to get there an hour, 2 hours ahead.
Right.
So you just run into it. I mean, you saw with Hall H, like, well, the line doesn't start until 7 or like 5, 6, 7 o'clock the day before.
Right.
Yet here's a line of people that have been waiting since 8 in the morning, even though it's not an official line. People they're pretty nuts about what they're going to wait for.
Yeah, I really wanted to get in for Hall H Friday, so I waited. But I kind of wish that I wouldn't because they were still giving away wristbands at 1 a.m. for the Friday panels. It was the Saturday ones that were super impacted. So I could have stayed in Hall H and gone through Dark Materials, which something I did want to see. But I feel like I had to get in line, so I waited in 3 hours, got my wristband, and then came back the next day, stayed for another 3 hours to get in the Hall H. But it was fucking worth it for me. I really, really enjoyed being in that hall and seeing all the stuff. Even though I know you can see it on video later, it was cool to see them live. The Game of Thrones panel, which is why I wanted to go, was just so fucking underwhelming, though. Oh, man.
Yeah, we watched that online. It was just all chat, and the creators didn't show up.
God damn it.
They're doing a lot better, though. Hall H is when I think we waited in line the first year they did the wristbands. Mm-hmm. They didn't do it the night before. You had to wait in line that day.
Oh, God.
So I think we got in line just before 5 a.m.
Yeah. Because
we just knew. One year we tried to go to a Game of Thrones panel. I think it was our first con. And we heard some people, we were in line for Dexter and we got in. But for Game of Thrones, there was a huge wait because they don't clear the room. So I think we waited in line 3 or 4 hours. Like, we should be fine. Because we saw what the other panels were doing. And we had no idea what we were getting into.
Yeah.
And we made it into the tented corral area and no further.
All the way through the Game of Thrones panel, you were just stuck there.
Yep.
Damn.
And then that was the last panel of the day. So we're like, well, we waited this long. Let's see what's after this. And we got in and saw Kevin Smith, and thus started our love of seeing Kevin Smith at Comic-Con panels.
Nice. That's how you stumbled into that.
Yeah. But then the next year we waited in line, got our wristbands, but now you don't even get in until 9, 10 o'clock proper. So you're still waited there for 5 hours, tried to entertain yourself in the sun and all that stuff. And we saw what we did the other days, so we basically just went, we can do far more things elsewhere at Comic-Con than at Hall H.
Right. Yeah, I went to a couple of different panels on Saturday. Turtles one with Kevin Eastman, which was great. A couple other small kind of indie comic artists. And then I went to stand in line for George Takei. He was doing They Called Us Enemy. He did a new graphic novel about his time in the internment camps. And fuck, that line was long. And I got there like an hour and a half early and did not get in, which is fine. It's a smaller room. I just wish they would have had it in a bigger room.
Yeah. Well, usually our usual strategy for the panels that aren't Hall H is get there 2 panels ahead of time.
Yeah.
So like this year we saw think I wrote it down. It was Brian Pulido of Coffin Comics.
Mm-hmm.
So it ended up being there was another panel that was there that was printed in the guide, but that was canceled. So he did a crowdfunding indie comics because he's raised like $2.5 million or so crowdfunding his comics, like Lady Death. So we bought a Lady Death collection comic because he's like, if you like heavy metal and demons, I'm like, well, I like both of those things. So it sounds like right up my alley.
Yeah.
But that turned out to be really cool. And then Amy was taking all these notes that she could use for the library for just how to get these campaigns and funding. And then the panel we were really waiting for was Deep Space Nine with the What We Left Behind panel and that documentary they're releasing.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 5-6 of the cast there.
Oh, nice.
So we got to see all of that. And we were up far up front enough that they released a few official videos. And when everyone stands up, you can actually see us.
Oh, nice.
In the front stand up.
How big was that room? Or which room was it? Oh, okay.
It was one of the, I think on the southern side, that like 24 AB.
Oh yeah, the number ones.
They're not that big.
Right.
Yeah, so that was usually what happens is we'll do that, and then you hear, oh, there's a line outside. But we were in the Brian Pulido one, and he's, who here is looking to crowdfund? We didn't raise our hands. And he starts calling on people. So, well, how do you want to crowdfund? Like, don't call on us. Don't call on us. And he finally did call on somebody. He's like, I'm not interested in this. I'm just here for someone else.
Fuck.
I'm here for one of my friends. Oh, okay. What about you? And you saw that half the people that were in that panel were there because of the Deep Space Nine.
Right.
We know to skip the line, you just get in the panel early because you got a seat, you can relax.
Yep.
Yeah. Then we saw them.
I wonder how that makes them feel, though. They're like, oh, well, fuck, people could have been here to see my shit, but you're here for the panel two panels from now. But that's kind of the name of the game, there, though.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, then, the panel after that was Jax with all the toys.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, who was really there to see the latest release of the costume for the kids? Like, not many, I imagine.
Right.
But they had fun with it. Then we saw them announce the $580 Ultron Transformer.
Wow.
They had the version of it on the show floor, if you actually saw it. The thing is big. The thing is like 2 feet tall. To the point where I'm never transforming this because it's a $600 Transformer.
Right, I'm just going to leave it how it is. Because I don't want to fucking break that shit.
Like, why did you spend $1,200? Because I need one in planet form and one to show the robot form, and I'm not ever changing them.
Right next to each other. Oh, man.
Yeah, but that part was pretty fun. Getting to see that. It's like we actually stopped at booths because of stuff we got in early. And we also like to go to the young adult book panels where they talk about what's coming out. And then they usually hand out free books. So we gotta keep up on new stuff. You get free books. You get to see this list of awesome, cool stuff that's coming out to kind of give you a guideline of what to see. Yeah, this is pretty nice.
Yeah, I think my strategy for next year will be, because I think this is the first year where I did a bunch of panels. Before I would just do a panel, but then just spend most time on the exhibit floor, which after this year was fun. I found some cool stuff, but it's just so many fucking people. You're just jockeying for space versus the panels. You kind of have your seat and kind of just get to relax. I want to do a lot more of the smaller panels next time.
Yeah. Well, I know that's what we love, the quick guide with the really nicely laid out schedule, is you can kind of plan a path because I don't like looking at, well, here's the room. Yes, that's something I want to see. I need to see that visual of, well, does it overlay with 3 other things I want to see? Now I got to see which one is my favorite. Well, then I got to see the 2 that are before it, because if something super popular is before it, it's going to be full.
Right. You
have to do all of that crap. But we ended up going around the show floor. We found it was Corbin FX. So they're named after the Corbin Dallas character from Fifth Element. So we saw them. They had a $8,000 model of the Orville, which is an amazing Star Trek-esque show. If you haven't seen it. Oh yeah,
that's the is it MacFarlane? Seth MacFarlane? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like 75% Star Trek with sprinkling of what would feel like real world humor, and just an amazing show. But we stopped in there. They had a contest going. I somehow won one of those, so we got a signed book of some of their stuff. And then while waiting for it, we got to talk to the owner of Corbin FX, and he's also the owner and founder of the Anovos. They're the ones that always have the super awesome Stormtrooper and Star Wars outfits that are out there on the floor.
Oh yeah, I saw those.
Yeah, he's like, well, if you could get a screen used Stormtrooper outfit for $10,000. Well, I think we can make a new one for $1,000. So we're going to do that.
Yeah.
So we just chatted with him for like 20 minutes while we waited, and found out his dream house is he lives on the block where the house used for Poltergeist is. And if that ever goes up for sale, he is buying that house.
Oh, wow. Just to have it?
Yeah, because he's a huge Poltergeist fan. And I've watched it, but I'm not that big of a fan. But, I sure acted like it was.
Right. You're talking to the guy. You're like, yeah, I love that too.
Yeah. Well, it's more like, that sounds amazing, because it is. Like, I don't know if I'd be that interested in it, but it's awesome that you are.
Right. Yeah, it's nice when people are enthusiastic about something, even if you don't quite share it, you can still fake it. Like, oh, that's great. Huh.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I felt going through the line for the signing for It Chapter 2. There were a couple actors I knew, like James McAvoy and Bill Hader, and some that I didn't, but I was still like, you're awesome. Great. Thanks for doing this movie signing thing. I don't know who you are. I feel bad when I don't know who people are.
You're going, I wish this was Game of Thrones.
I did, for sure. Because I put 3 tickets in for that one, and I put 25 in for Game of Thrones, and it just did not go my way. Which is, after the panel, I'm fine with. Whatever. They were good, but it was not triumphant like it should have been.
Yeah, I think there's going to be good bones to the story. We'll see if George ever decides to finish writing it.
Yeah, I think he's not. I'm starting to get resigned to this. Oh man.
I think that's a good outlook, because then you're not devastated when he doesn't, but you'll be ecstatic if he does, and you're proven wrong.
Exactly. I'm gonna set the bar pretty low, so then if I'll just be pleasantly surprised if there's a book in my hand, and apparently next year, which is if it is, I'm just gonna drop off the face of the earth. I'm gonna take time off of work and just go and read that book until it's read, and then come back to the living, because it's been way too long. Too long.
Why did Larry just take a week of PTO?
Exactly. I'm going to, man. This is my time. This is my me time. I've been waiting a long time for this, guys. I've lost many bets about this fucking book, so I'm going to enjoy it when it comes out. Oh my god. Well, thank you, Brad, for spending some time with us and taking part in this podcast in Anthony's absence. I'm sure he appreciates that, plus all the texts he's going to get from me now.
Oh yeah, whatever number you're thinking of, quadruple it.
Yeah, okay, I'll keep going. I will not sleep. I'll just send him texts. All right, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.